Hi, today I want to show you how to create these magical balls, which are like changing their shapes and they are also animated. I will play, they will change and like flowing uh, water, gas, or maybe like even wood patterns on this really different kind of shapes. They're also in an open and or they can be open if you close this, bring the or refreshing ball close enough. They also change their shapes. So how is it possible to do this really nice balls? I go a little bit back and I will show you a more simple version of them. This is here. I go to geometry node settings. So here, and let's go to first of all check the how the geometry of these shapes work. Let me give a second to change to EV, and because these ones have their in their material is the transparencies set. Like I go there, and you can see I bring this one, and this is the most simple version of this balls. Turn off the grid, and we can see better. So like you can see, this is the most basic version of it. How this works? Let's go to geometry nodes. It's a very basic setting for the in geometry nodes. I have simply a collection of objects, which are this shapers. I call them the objects. Just very simple. And they are in this collection of objects. And I use the geometry proximity node by realizing these instances geometry proximity node of their distance to this object and just mapping this range and bringing the result as a color information to the geometry node's output. Here you can see it becomes a color information, and I take this color information and use it in shading to this is also very basic setting of it. So as a color attribute, you have to, I think you have to also in I know you don't really need. You can create this color attribute, and you can use this color attribute, which is basically the proximity of this ball or any other object which are on the in the object collection, and giving their distance to the object, and this will be mapped to a certain distance, which we can also play with. So we can increase the distance or decrease the distance here by connecting this to the input part and to 0. Else you will like have the opposite effect. If you go up to plus, you will not see anything. So therefore, this is the distance which starts from a value, but from a positive value, and it is mapped. This value of the distance is mapped to a setting from minimum 1.2 or like even less, will be bigger. But if you go to close to 0, then the distance disappears. And the result, you have to check it here. The group output has to be a color attribute, and you call it color, and this color attribute is also the color attribute in shading. And we take this information and use it to make basically the transparency. So I have here like two nodes mixing, transparency node, and principal shading shader node, and this is what happens basically here. I could also take it off, and this will be still the distance of these two objects are making what is close to them transparent. On top of that, I started to play a little bit with Musgrave textures. So maybe you know, if you take one Musgrave and one noise texture, it's basically this nice wood pattern. You can also like scale it a little bit or play with it a little bit again. Deal with this both types and to create like really nice wooden patterns. If you go a little bit further, you can also mix one Musgrave texture. I'll also make this alpha. You will not see. You can also mix. I will bring this here. You can mix with transparency setting, which we did there. This was our basic transparency setting. So in the first case, it is just like one mapping color ramp node and the color attribute. It's basically the color attribute. So if you take just the color attribute without anything, you will still have it. So you see that it's just the corners will get here transparent. If you add a color ramp, you can play a little bit with the distance. But if you want to make a little bit more complex things like this case, so like if you bring it close, where's the? So if you bring it close, it has this really nice shapes here. Then you can use the same information also for the mix this color attribute with a noise texture with a generative source. So if you don't have this generative, then it doesn't work very good. I take it off. So it still works, but it is maybe like not the best case. Put it back. And then you can use this mixed information. So you mix like basically the original color attribute with a little bit noise. In case like you can also have just noise, but we don't want this. We want to mix them and turn off the back face option because then they are mixing not so very good. So you can see that I will have it here, and then the end part of it are becoming transparent. And basically, these are extensions of it. So I have here another object, which distance makes the other objects transparent. Oh, sorry, I'll make it a little bit bigger maybe to see the effect better. We can, and but this is what it makes the other objects to melt. I am now in Eevee, therefore my this object doesn't look properly because it's a volumetric object. In this case, I used a similar Musgrave and the Musgrave texture to play with the density, but this you'll only see when you go back cycles. And also like let's play a little bit. So now we can see it much better. Here, this is like this smoky, eerie version of nodes. And I played with the properties of it, with the Musgrave texture, with the rotation. It must be 4D in order to loop very properly. I played with this V rotation, which is like the fourth vector plus to X, Y, Z. And I put an expression on it, basically a radiance frame, which loops properly. If I go to the animation, which all these textures are looping in 360 frames. This was the reason. So like yeah, here. And therefore I put this let's say this properties here by shading. Yes, this animated scripted expressions to animate the functions of different nodes. So sometimes the rotation, sometimes the Z rotation, in other cases the Y rotation of the mapping of this of the transparency helper, and you can also play also as well with these ones. Although if you have a like also 4D one, can I think this doesn't belong to this one. Can in geometrynodes, yes, here, and then but this one, why doesn't it work? Why does I know it? This is this working part, but the other part, because one of them is not the right one, I think. No, it's pretty strange why it doesn't work here, because this part does work very good. This one doesn't really, because like this works very good, and the scaling, I mean, yes, it works. We don't see it. It's just here. So the little ones are working as well. So maybe we can also do it here and add here a radiance frame property. And now they're also glowing, going back and forth. Because I connected also similar property from here for this noise texture here to the roughness of the of reflections. In this way, like has also this really nice like underwater like animation or glow or reflections. So yeah, I think you can really play a lot with geometry nodes. Here I put it here also in the sphere that it moves around in an air way again in a magical way, which is this rotation of an empty. Basically, this one is working going around. Make it a little bit away, and it will go through them, make them partially invisible, but still it itself has this smoky view. We can also play with it a little bit, either like opening the colors or maybe it's like increasing the scale of it of the one of the Musgrave textures that the thickness of them are increasing. So like the detail, yeah, maybe like this kind of this, and maybe like clarity to. You can see also this is it is also animated with the Musgrave texture, which has also the V-axis is animated here, and like a ghost eating this balls. I got very much inspiration for this tutorial from these two tutorials, which I will also link in the comments. One is this one. Here I got this from Benjamin Weimar. I got the idea with the distances. He is pretty good explaining how you can use the geometry nodes setting to get the distance of an object to create like intersections and finally like these really nice beautiful waves. I wanted to just do this tutorial, but then I got inspired to do something else, and I used just this part of his geometry node setting to get this information, to forward this information to shader nodes, and then I took this wood texture inspiration also from Smith's natural wood material. This is also very nice tutorial where you can get really very simple setting of woods. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.